The first time that I read Harry Potter, I couldn't put it down. And when I got to the end of the book, I made predictions about what would happen in the subsequent books. When I read the next books, I was like, how did I get all these predictions right? Well, it wasn't that I was a genius. It was just that I read a lot of fantasy books, and I know how fantasy tends to go. The reason that I know the way it tends to go is because I'm using archetypes. Archetypes are certain types of characters, plots, and settings that we see repeated over and over again in fantasy stories. Here's a short list of archetypes that we can encounter in our fantasy books: the hero, the villain, the wise person, or the companions and friends. The hero. So if we think about characters like Elizabeth from The Paper Bag Princess, or Harry Potter, or Clay in Wings of Fire, we can think about how those characters are heroes. They're good characters who are often lonely and would rather not be a hero, but they have to complete his or her quest, usually alone, and usually the hero wins. The villain. Ursula is one of my favorite Disney villains. You have seen villains in many, many Disney movies that I'm sure you love, but we know that there are bad characters who are often surrounded by other characters who she or he is mean to. They want to be in charge of everything, they want power, and in the end, they usually lose. Here is the archetype of the wise person. It's otherwise known as, sometimes we call that the sage. And the sage or wise person, they oftentimes give our character advice. They're very, very smart. They tend to be older characters who usually help the hero by teaching him or her. And our companions or friends, those people who are by the hero's or sometimes the villain's side. They stick to the hero or villain. However, some of them actually might turn out to be false friends. One of the cool things about archetypes is they show up over and over again in shows, in books, in movies. And so as you're watching a movie and you see a certain archetype, you're like, I know this. I've read something like this before, or I've watched a movie like this before, and it helps make prediction. It can help you make predictions or develop a certain interpretation here because you're already a few steps ahead. Now we're going to watch a video. So we're going to watch it once in this mini lesson, and you're going to watch it again on your own. But the first time, I want you to just identify the different archetypes you see. Remember, archetypes are the characters, plot lines, or settings that you recognize from other fantasy stories.
It's up to you. There's one airline that can take you there. United. It's time to fly.
So readers, now I want us to think about the different archetypes that we noticed in that video and what those archetypes make us think. So one of the archetypes that I noticed is the hero. I'm trying to write and do this video at the same time. Okay, the dad as the hero, and that's dad, right? And I'm also noticing the dragon, right? Which is definitely a villain. Okay? And there was probably many other archetypes that you noticed as well, that you picked up on, that I can't wait for you to pick up on as well. Now, our next step is thinking about, what does that archetype make you think, right? So it's not just good enough to find the archetype. For me, it was interesting that United Airlines chose to make the dad as the hero, right? Because in my house, I feel like I, as mom, am the hero. So that's one of the things that I would write down here, that why was dad the hero? Question, right? And then casting a dragon as the villain. Why was that the case? Is it that they wanted to show the dad actually fighting something, but have it be not super violent, so they picked a dragon instead of another person? So did they choose a dragon over a person on purpose, right? So these all become different ideas that we can start to think about and question. So readers, when you watch the video again, you're going to look for additional archetypes that I missed. And also, if you think those archetypes meant something else, did you have a different interpretation than I did? So readers, today you looked at a whole new text with this set of eyes of experienced fantasy readers. And you use these archetypes that you know so well to make predictions, new ideas, and come up with some pretty dazzling interpretations using those archetypes as a launch pad. I can't wait to see what you come up with today.